Hello, everybody. For my midterm project, I chose to compare Hamlet from Hamlet and Macbeth from Macbeth, both written by William Shakespeare. The theme I chose is the tragedy of power and responsibility. We'll be looking into a great dive of the modern illustration of Spider-Man to have a comparison analysis to both parallel worlds. Because of this famous lesson, with great power comes great responsibility. While Spider-Man learns to accept responsibility, Hamlet struggles with it. Macbeth abuses it. Their different choices ultimately lead to having very different outcomes. To start off, we should look at Hamlet's side. This is Hamlet. I chose Hamlet and I used dark blue color palettes to represent grief and conflict and the reflection that Hamlet has to look over. Hamlet spends most of the time in the play mourning his father and struggling with the responsibility of avenging his death. Especially in Act 1, Scene 5 of line 91 through 112, Hamlet learns that his father was murdered and is promising revenge. We can courteously see that throughout the acts and scenes when he overcomes this grief and tragedy. In Act 3 and Scene 1, he struggles with whether to act, which is shown in his famous to be or not to be speech, as well as in Scene 4, where Hamlet kills Polonius and begins facing the consequences of his actions for avenging his father. Finally, in Act 5, Scene 2, we see Hamlet accept his fate and complete his revenge. I include symbols such as skulls and storms, clouds, and masks to represent death, inner conflict, and grief. I even have the words highlighted: intelligence, conflict, and grieving, describing Hamlet's personality and throughout the book. Our next one we can look at is Macbeth. For Macbeth, I chose a deep purple blue. It symbolizes ambitions and royalty and corruption, especially in Macbeth. When we look at Macbeth, we see all these three main themes come out and shine the most. In Act 1, Scene 3, it's best to understand where this is coming from. When Macbeth hears his witch's prophecies and begins thinking about power. However, compared to the Scene 7, when he debates whether he should murder King Duncan, versus by Act 3, Scene 1, Macbeth becomes consumed by fear and planning to murder. Finally, in Act 5, Scene 8, we can see Macbeth faces the consequences of his mission and defeat. I've read Macbeth before, and I always loved Macbeth. In fact, it was one of my favorite ones during high school. It was the only one I could actually get through with understanding somewhat the comprehensions of Shakespeare. And I thought this might be a powerful scene, especially if you look at the crown and dagger and dark councils representing the powers and violence in the conflict struggle, especially including the destruction caused by his choices. I use words such as ambiguous, paranoid, and power-driven to describe Macbeth, as seen in most of the portrayed acts. Although Hamlet and Macbeth are different characters, they share many similarities. Both are tragic heroes. Both struggle with internal conflict and both have experience in guilt, and the choices they have made eventually led to death. However, there is an important difference. Hamlet seeks justice for his father. Meanwhile, the other one is often hesitant to act. Meanwhile, Macbeth seeks his power for himself and acts quickly, showing his ambitious controls him. The different approaches to responsibility creates different tragedies. Now, I did look into a comparison with Spider-Man, one of the greatest marvels that Stan Lee has ever created. See, if we look at it this way, one reason I chose this name is because it reminded me of Spider-Man's famous lesson: with great power comes great responsibility. Where in comparison, this modern-day Spider-Man learns to use his powers to help others. Hamlet delays his responsibility and struggles with what he should do, while Macbeth ignores responsibility and allows ambition to corrupt him and to proceed to the tragedy. When I compare these characters, we can see the power itself is not good or bad, but it's how the person uses it and chooses to use it. In conclusion, both Hamlet and Macbeth show the power and responsibility comes with consequences. Hamlet's hesitation and Macbeth's inhibition leads them towards a tragedy, while Spider-Man serves as a modern example of accepting responsibility and growing above from it. Through these characters, Shakespeare has demonstrated the choices we make ultimately shape our destiny. Thank you for watching.